Very excited now to have Dave Broberg come speak to us. Dave is our par excellence graphic designer, and he basically works out of our athletics department. And that's really cool because they're doing all the cool stuff. And he's really, his job, he's been here 11 years, his job has continued to morph. And instead of the printed word so much, now we're doing the web media guides, and I was just trying to think what the so we're so much lively now and so much more permanent. With a media guide, it was you printed it and a year later it was outdated after you printed it. It was that quick. Now we're able to change on the media pages instantly. If a player adds more weight or gets higher, taller, we can add that, and they make us do that too all the time. But Dave is by far, he uses us, we have an exclusive deal. He uses us or we get real mad at him. And that's about our end of the bargain. But we're so happy to have Dave. He, like I say, he's been so creative. And it's very interesting, with a lot of our internal graphic designers, and especially with Dave, a lot of his stuff is never seen by the public. Because we have a coach right now, our football coach is very much a visual football coach. And Dave's taken blank walls throughout a whole athletic complex and actually just papered them with outstanding images, of course, but the graphics that go to it and all the work that goes behind, and so few people get to see the excellence of his work. And it shows other ways, and he's going to show us some of his products that he does, and hopefully he'll tell us how we work together on the positive side. He won't tell all the negative things we talk about. Well, maybe he will. Because you all know that I know that graphic designers usually ruin a good photograph, but I got to get that out because he's going to say that how he improves the photographs. But actually, Dave actually makes us look so much better, and we really do appreciate having Dave and being able to work with Dave. So, Dave Broberg.
Thanks, Mark. I got to say, first off, too, that probably the funnest part of my job as a designer in the athletic department is working with these guys. And I'm not just saying that because they're in the room, but putting the shoots together for our marketing materials and other stuff is really probably the funnest part of my job, and working with the student athletes at these shoots and working with Mark and Jaron on design ideas and coming up with stuff. It really is one of the more lively and I don't know, it's always different, always something new, and always something that turns out pretty fun. So Mark asked me to kind of talk today about how you guys can better relate with people like me and graphic designers. And like Mark said, we often ruin a great photo, or and sometimes, as graphic designers, I don't know, at least myself, I feel like the marketing people that I have to work with that tell me I have to put this logo on or this schedule, they're the ones that ruin the photo. So don't put all the blame on me, Mark. But today I just want to talk a little bit about creative collaboration, working together as a team, and how it's worked well for us. I've been here 11 years, and when I first started, I don't know that Mark and I and Jaron wasn't part of the picture at that point, but I don't think we were much of a team. I was afraid of him, and he probably thought I was just this little peon, but over the years we've developed a good relationship, and it has, I think, turned out some good work, work that's won some awards and has done well in marketing our athletic department, our teams, and help put butts in seats and get people excited about our athletic team. So I know you work with different designers, whether it be athletic designers or a university designer, or probably some of you also work with off-campus designers. Can I get a show of hands just so I have an idea? Do you work with an on-campus designer? Are they on campus? Raise your hand. So primarily on campus. And with those people, is it usually always one group or one person? Or is it change all the time? One group. So does it change quite a bit? Different people all the time? Okay. And I think that may cause some problems right there. I think what works well with our group is that there's been some consistency and a relationship has been built, and so that when there are differences of opinion and differences during a shoot, there's a relationship to fall back on, and it helps smooth things out. So. And we'll talk about that, just about to how to build that relationship. But I just want to first read a quote. And I know this is small, but and if you can read it, you've got great eyes. But I'll read it to you. Given our continuing obsession with solitary genius, reflected in everything from the worship of film directors to our fascination with Bill Gates and other high-profile entrepreneurs, it is no surprise that we tend to underestimate just how much creative work is accomplished by groups. Today, an important scientific paper may represent the best thinking and patient lab work of hundreds of people. Collaboration constantly takes place in the art as well. A classic example is Michelangelo's masterpiece, The Ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. In our mind's eye, we see Michelangelo looking remarkably like Charleston Heston, laboring alone in the scaffolding high above the chapel floor. In fact, 13 people helped paint the work. And Michelangelo was not only an artist, he was, as biographer William E. Wallace points out, the head of a good-sized entrepreneurial enterprise. And so my point to start off is that good creative artwork is done in groups. It's not you acting alone. It's not the designer acting alone, but it's working together. Whether it's two people or whether it's 5 or 6, I think you always will end up with a better product most of the time if clearer heads prevail. And so that's my first point, is that groups do work. And don't be afraid to work with your designer, and hopefully he is not afraid to work with you as you go through. To start off, Mark wanted me to just show some of our creative work, some of the things that we've put together over the years. These are just some of them. This football one here, I don't know if Mark's ever talked about that, but that was one of my favorite collaborative works and you'll hear me talk about that. But out of the Salt Flats of Utah, where we took the football team and just had a great time out there and shot a number of different things. But what's interesting about this is what we had in mind going in is not what came out. I think we had we wanted to do more of a lineup, and we had some other ideas of what to shoot. But when we got out there, we adjusted and worked together, and this ultimately, and I think afterwards when we looked at all the photos, we both were in agreement that, yeah, this was the most impactful and strongest image of the bunch that we shot that day. So I'll just show you a few examples, and then we'll get to. All right, so those are just some pieces that we worked on over the years, and like the point I made before, you guys are part of a team. The graphic designer and the photographer, both, if it's a printed piece, both your name and the graphic designer's name will be on that piece, and so both of you, are a team, and as you work together and talk together, the language should be all about we, not you or I, but we. How are we going to do this? What are we going to do? What can we do to do this as you make preparations? So just remember to use that language in working with the designer. We. I think Mark always did a good job when I would come to him, say, hey, we want to do this as an athletic department. Can you help us out? And I think Mark was always like, well, let me be involved in it. I'd like to be involved in that creative process as you brainstorm about stuff. And he always was volunteering. Let me be a part of your team. Even though he's not a part of athletics, he's completely separate and a different part of campus. I feel like
because of how he's approached me and worked with me, I feel like he is part of the athletic department. I feel like he is part of my team. And I think you just have to have that spirit of teamwork together and nurture that. And that may be a challenge. I mean, that may be the greatest challenge because there are such differences in artistic artistic differences, I guess I should say. And working through those is getting your designer to buy in. Hey, I'm on your team, you're on mine. Our names are both going to be on that end product, whether they're printed on there or not. It's a reflection. What you do is a reflection of my work, and my work is a reflection of your work. I realize nothing that I do as a designer can look good unless I get Mark to buy into what I'm doing, and I'm lucky. I think I have one of the greatest photographers to work with because he does great stuff, and almost always what I ask I get, and so that's helped the relationship. But first of all, spirit of teamwork, you're on the same team. The second one is defend each other, help each other out, watch each other's backs. We've run into some issues here at BYU where there's a marketing staff in the athletic department that kind of determines, hey, they'll come to me for, hey, we need a poster for this or this or this, give suggestions to me as a graphic designer, and then I work with Mark. But I've had, as part of my marketing, people say, hey, can we use somebody else? Could we go a different route? And I've defended, say, no, we only use Mark for our stuff, and I think that's helped endear him to me. And at the same time, there's been times where other people have wanted to use other graphic designers off campus or something like that, and Mark has defended me and watched my back. And so we as creative artists, designers and photographers, we're in the same boat, and we really are working together. We have the same kind of problems and issues and challenges, I think, in all that we do. And as we try to get respect from administration and other areas of campus, we are in the same boat. So, with that, defending each other, get comfortable with each other, talk a lot, communicate a lot, go to lunch with each other, grab a pizza or whatever else together, and get to know each other. I know when we did this Salt Flat photo shoot, we spent 2.5 hours in the car driving out there doing a pre-shoot, I guess is the word, doing a pre-shoot out there, and just hanging out with Mark and Jaron for a couple hours was really good for me to just kind of understand where they're coming from, what their background, what their needs are, how they see things. Accept differences. We're going to have artistic differences. I may like a ton of copy space, or who knows what it is, but just get to know what his or her likes are as a designer, and hopefully that they'll in turn want to, hey, I really like to shoot things like this. I know Mark and Jaron hate it when I say, hey, we're going to do a shoot in a white studio with pretty even lighting. They don't love that, but sometimes that's what the marketing staff or me has determined. But I realize they don't like that, so I try to accommodate that and try not to do stuff that they're not going to do, a project that they're not going to enjoy. So get to know them, their family. I mean, just build a relationship. Accept differences, and then the last one, speak the same language. It wouldn't hurt to take a design class and learn a little bit more about typography or other areas of design so that you can speak the same language as a designer. I know that I took a photo class from Jaron several years ago, and I've gotten into just my own personal photography just so I understand their language better and lighting and things like that, and that's helped me a ton. And encourage your designers to get more into photography. Not that they're going to take away your work or anything like that, but just so that they speak your same language, I think is a nice suggestion. But like I said, we're both on the same team. We both want to feel respected and appreciated, and giving that respect and praise. I think if you're very positive with that designer, they're going to be positive to you, and that's going to help the relationship. So, Like I said, I see when we do a photo shoot, when we work together in collaboration, it's a lot like, it's like going out there as a team in a game. I relate so much to sports because that's my world. But I see everything as being, every shoot that we do, whether it be a poster or for any other marketing collateral, everything is very much like a game. And so we'll have a pre-game, and then the shoot itself is the game, it's the action, it's what it's all about. And then there are some things that you can do in the post-game after the shoot is over that help that relationship. So we'll talk about those three things next. So the pre-game, I think this is the most critical part of working with a designer. This is where he or she shares their ideas with you, and then you, in turn, I think, push and pull a little bit, and go over ideas. And I compare it to watching game film. I'm a very visual person, so I'll find an idea that I like, from somewhere, and say, hey, Mark, I kind of want to do something like this. What do you think? And it's always usually, hey, it's two people on this thing that I show them. We want to do it with 10 athletes. How's that sound? And he loves that. But going over everything meticulously and making sure that there's a shared vision. And I think there has to be push and pull both ways. If you don't feel comfortable pushing back at the graphic designer, build that relationship, because as a designer, I need to know what your limitations are. I need to know, hey, that's impossible to do. And then sometimes, Mark will say, that's impossible. I'm like, is it really? What do you think? And then there's some middle ground that you sometimes have to find when doing this. And so talking through light placement of the athletes or the people. I realize not everything's all about sports, but just talking through everything, having game prep, and then I think it's key, and especially on major shoots when you're going to a location or whatever else, having a pre-shoot and the designer going with the photographer and walking through and looking through everything and meticulously being prepared. If you are not prepared, you're going to fail. So buying into everything and working together in that pre-game, just like a team and coaches would work together, they need to be on the same page. Just like an offense and a defense of a team needs to be on the same page. Just everyone coming together and taking the time. I realize sometimes time is of the essence. You got to shoot, you got to do quick. Don't forget to take the time to be prepared, because who knows what the shoot's going to throw at you. And then obviously going through equipment and people checklist. Are they going to be in uniform? Going through every little detail that's important there. And I think giving assignments and making sure everything works out well. So that's kind of what we do. Hopefully and I think it works well for us in the pre-game prep. Now it's game time. You're out there, you're on the location, you've got the athletes, you've got them there for a specific amount of time. Everything's got to work right. And oftentimes lighting, as you guys know, lighting and different situations change, and you've got to adapt. So often I've been to a shoot and we have, like we said before, we have a preconceived idea of what we want. But when we get there, we are able to have some in-game adjustments and adapt. And say, hey, what about this? And I think having that good relationship to where you're working together, you and the designer feel like you're on the same team. Mark can give me a suggestion, or Jaron can give me a suggestion, and I'll be like, yeah, that sounds good, let's go with that. How about we set them up this way? And I think we work well because we're not fighting over titles or power or who's directing what. We're working together as a team. And I think that's what works best. I'll help direct athletes and put them in a certain way. Mark will often do it. He sees things through his lens. What's really nice now is how Mark will shoot something, use that shutter snitch program on his iPad, where I'm able to look at immediately what he shot and say, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. we can both get immediate feedback and achieve what we want, and that's really helped us get good results where I'm happy and he's happy. But in-game adjustments are important. And then, like I said, throw out your egos and just work together. If the designer wants to say, hey, let's do the things this way, don't feel like it's an affront to your creative control. But work together and adapt. And I usually let Mark set certain shots up, and then I want to set certain shots up, and at the end of the day, we look at everything, and the best stuff the cream is gonna rise to the top. The best stuff is gonna be what we'll use, whether it's my direct idea or Mark or Jaren's. It doesn't really matter. We want the best stuff possible. And then the last thing is just have fun together. Don't make it a stressful situation. And I think going back to having a good relationship with the designer helps lessen that tension that could maybe be there. Because it is somewhat of a high pressure situation. You've got to perform. It's a game. It's just like a game. So we'll walk you through a scenario that we had last summer. It was towards the end of the summer, and our marketing guy for women's soccer said, we don't have any of our marketing posters now. What are we going to do? I said, well, let's have a shoot, and let's get them together, and let's do this. And I said, well, let's talk about what we want to do. He's like, I want one poster for all 9 of our returning starters. So 9 different shoots. And he says, I want to do it in one night, and we can only have these girls in one night. And so I threw this at Mark, and he immediately yelled at me, no. But he wasn't happy, and I said, well, this is what we have to do. This is our limitation. We have the girls this night. We need to shoot each one in kind of a different setup, doing something kind of different, whether it's a goalie or a forward or something else. And so we kind of went over, here's some ideas, and then when we got out there, it was adjust on the fly, and it was kind of a hectic situation. But in the end, I think it turned out awesome. Mark and Jaren and his staff did phenomenal work as we worked together, and as we directed together what we wanted to do. And there's a couple more. I think that, like I said, there's 9 total, but we had to find a different spot in our soccer stadium with the lights on, and all of his lights that work. And but just being able to adapt, and we both felt camaraderie. We were bad-mouthing our marketing guy together, and we felt like we were on the same team. So if you find someone you can put the blame on together, that's always nice. So anyway, that's kind of, we worked together on this and shared the same vision, communicated well, and ended up with a great product. So post-game, I think is important that after shoot you guys talk, and you sit down or talk over the phone. And Mark will share his images with me that I can start creating the posters or whatever else we're going to do with them, the marketing stuff. And sometimes he'll give me suggestions like, oh, I really like 52A, or he'll highlight and star some of his favorites. And that's a good start for me. Like, oh, I like to see feedback from him. And I think too, like when the end design comes out, I like to send them the designs, and sometimes they'll say, don't really like how that turned out, and I welcome that feedback. Sometimes, designers aren't perfect and photographers aren't perfect, and feedback is good. What's that? Yeah, it's can you believe that? It's a show. But once again, to have that open communication feedback, there's got to be a good relationship. And so I think too, giving positive feedback to each other. Hey, Mark, you guys are great, and he'll be like, hey, I really, I think feedback from him to me helps build that relationship. So having those open communications and feedback after the fact also helps that the end product looks better. So with that, that was